all you want, but let's actually talk logic.
Good, give it. Good. You're about to be embarrassed. I'm warning
The
you.
Epicurean paradox says that the idea of God is simple, and correct me if I'm misphrasing it, but the idea of God is that God is omnipotent, omnipresent, and all powerful, and all knowing. Okay, right? He knows everything, and he's all powerful, and he's all good. I know
this already.
Right? That's the definition of how we view God, right? I'm just making sure that we understand and are on the same page, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, if God is all good and all powerful, why does he allow evil?
Okay. So, the question you're asking is, are you talking
because
about...
could God eliminate evil? For instance, could God kill Satan?
Okay. Yes. Now,
yes, he could. So why doesn't he?
Okay, listen.
So why doesn't he?
Are you going to let me respond to you, or shall I kick you?
That is my point, is if God...
Are you going to not interrupt me when I'm responding to you, or am I going to kick you?
I waited for you to stop talking.
Get out of here.
Yeah, you don't want to have a real conversation.
Your account's now blocked.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. When you act like a complete fool...
Such an open debate.
Bye.
This is atheism.
We literally started with, do you want to have a friendly intellectual conversation?
How many times did I say him, are you going to let me respond to you, or are you going to keep interrupting me? How many times did I say that to him? 3 times? And each and every time he kept on being belligerent to me. So the Epicurean paradox is no paradox at all, because it conflates 2 issues. One, the instance of evil, and the duration of evil. So the Epicurean paradox typically focuses on, why doesn't God stop evil? Okay? Now, stopping evil has to do with not allowing it to continue versus God permitting it at all. Okay? So, God has a specific plan or timetable by which he is going to permit both moral and natural evils within a time span of his plan of redemptive history, and he has an appointed time when he's going to vanquish all evil. What they object to is that God's vanquishing evil, his plan to vanquish evil, is not on their timetable. Now, when they invoke the Epicurean paradox, sometimes they will be referring to the instance of evil. Okay? But more often than not, 90 times out of 100, they're talking about the duration of evil.
Can I make an additional point?
If God was not going to permit evil, right, then God could not create agents. Okay? Now, if we're talking about natural evils, God has temporarily judged human history, or man, to be in subjugation to the good, the bad, and the nasty, okay, and the ugly, in order to fulfill his plan of redemptive history, which means God has a time frame for how he's going to allow evil to run a certain course. It's a time frame. They want to say that God cannot be a maximally perfect God because the duration of evil is longer than what they deem to be.
Can I make a comment,
Yes,
Darth?
go ahead.
They often, when they ask why God doesn't vanquish evil, they are not including themselves in that evil.
No, they're
not. One of the reasons why God, while he doesn't execute his justice now, is because God is not just a just God, he's also merciful. And so he's giving these people time to repent. So when they talk about why God doesn't vanquish evil, they're thinking of evil as something they don't like, not themselves, that they're evil in God's eyes.
Yeah. So the Epicurean paradox fails either way it's cashed out in terms of the allowance of evil versus the duration of evil. Either way, they're screwed. Okay, so there is no actual paradox. The problem with the Epicurean paradox is it's based upon a faulty reasoning and faulty perspective.
Notice when he mentioned evil, he said, "Why doesn't God kill Satan?" He didn't say, "Why doesn't God kill me? Because I'm evil."
Exactly. In other words, not killing Satan means that he permits Satan to commit some evil and then stop him. So when he's talking about killing Satan, he's already allowing for the duration, a certain duration of Satan running around doing his nasty stuff. Okay, so the real issue, for the most part, in the Epicurean paradox is the duration of evil. So their argument is God cannot be maximally good because his allowance of evil, his duration, is longer than my plan. I do tell you that I did really like Hulk Hogan. I thought that was great.
It's funny. I remember growing up, you'd be like, "All right, kids, eat your vitamins and say your prayers. Be a real American."
Okay, brother.